Hello guys, today was the end of the first week of new Aegir raid of Lost Ark Season 3. I wanted to make this quick video to share with you guys my opinion and current situation of the game. It's only the first week and overall I'm quite happy with it. There are some interesting pointers that the Western audience should know for their opinions too. First, let's go over the new raid Aegir. I think this raid is really well made. I love the BGM and the overall fight. I would say the fun was almost Valton level when I cleared it for the first time. Reason being is this, the raid was fair and had just enough difficulty to feel rewarded on executing mechanics. There are different types of difficulty, whereas the simplest differences, it's either fair and unfair difficulty. For example, on unfair difficulty, those are annoying mechanics where it wipes the whole party like in Broshaza. Something that is not on your control like Echidna with other party members hindering your play by being mind controlled. Theamine Stage Clash is also a good example because this can kill your teammates causing a reset. Therefore, I believe unfair difficulty can be something like RNG based and high punishment that can impact other teammates for a very small mistakes. It creates too much stress and anxiety. The new Aegir raid has nothing that makes you feel unfair. All the patterns were straightforward, and your mistakes were understandable and can be fixed with repeated practice. Most important of all, your mistake does not immediately wipe the party, and it gives you a chance to fix it. Let's talk about an example. This is the only real mechanic in the game. It happens early, and the goal is to counter the saw and send it to the pylons to do damage. Each pylon requires 4 in total, and it gives you plenty of time. Very straightforward. If your party mates fail to do so, since saws keep spawning, you can help other pylons to get through the mechanic. This makes the mechanic last longer, but it doesn't reset the whole raid unless you take way too long. Another one is when you face to the sides. You dodge his attacks and counter, stagger, and damage the spears. Missing them is not going to wipe the party, but root people who get hit, and you rarely die from this. Even if this is done really badly, you just push less DPS. So the fact that it's really difficult to wipe or die from mechanics, you just happen to lack DPS at the very end if done poorly. But any of these can be manageable during other phases of the fight, or you can start getting stronger to push more DPS at different portions of the fight. There is another new mechanic in the game called Just Guard. It's a parry system added into the game. Basically, the boss glows yellow, and you need to press the parry key on time to block his attack. Early stages of this system were quite annoying, but after it was patched to be able to be cancelled like your spacebar. Basically, you can also parry if your skill motions can be cancelled. It became one of the most satisfying actions you can do in the raid, so it feels like a fighting game. I think a good example could be games like Sekiro where you can parry anytime. Missing a parry also does not cause a wipe too, and the timing is very lenient where you can try squeezing in skills to cancel out just in time to feel the control of the fight. So it is actually up to you and the party can't hinder your parry. So people have been complaining about lacking DPS and seeing Berserk mode during this raid. This is because if this was any other raid in Lost Ark, those players who are complaining about lacking DPS would have died already. Aegir basically just gives them a chance. But doing poorly in a raid will make you feel you lack DPS in the end, and most of the time you will see Berserk. For example, he has a pattern where he stabs in a combo. If you get hit by a second fan-like attack, the closest person who gets hit is designated as a follow-up attack. So if 4 people get hit, out of the 4 people will be aimed for the follow-up attack. This rotates the boss's head where it hinders overall DPS. And poorly executing this too many times, you will see the party lacking DPS at the end. Players like gunlancers and supports can force this by getting hit on purpose to lock the boss's head position, which can help to push more DPS. These kind of plays are possible, and there are many more things you could do, and it's really satisfying to execute them as well. It gives them the role to do, and the overall fight becomes really much of a teamwork that does not hinder others. This type of raid mechanic is really good because eventually characters will be stronger, which will help this raid being easier, and you will never wipe because of stupid RNG random mistakes. I am really glad that Smilegate has one-upped the raid content, which makes me super excited to experience the next one in the future. If they continue this style, it will always be a huge win on raid design. So, the raid is really good, but there's a problem with this, and you guys may guess it. Support problem. Lack of support has always been an issue with every raid. It gets worse and worse at this time, and yet again, we are at the worst situation of Lost Ark history. Let's look at statistics for a second. I decided to check with the latest data today as of July 31st. Aegir Hard, which is about 2.48% of the characters from 1520, there are total 52,586 characters. 42,093 are DPS, and 10,493 are supports, meaning 10,614 DPS characters cannot go to Aegir Hard difficulty, because you need 3 DPS for 1 support. Egg Gear Normal is accessible from eye level 1660, which is about 6.51 percentile of the characters from 1520, and there are total 85,670 characters from 1660 to 1679.9. 64,646 are DPS, and 21,024 are supports, meaning additional 1,574 DPSs cannot enter Egg Gear Normal in this area as well. Since Egg Gear hard ready characters cannot try hard mode, they resorted into normal. Since supports tend to play with stronger DPS for safer clears, technically about 12,188 DPS characters cannot even try Egg Gear at all. There were multiple community posts waiting for support for hours and giving up for the first week. There are actually a lot of DPS players that has not cleared Egg Gear at all because of this issue. After looking at the statistics, it seems like it's going to continue for a while. People like me are not impacted by this because my static has a lot of support users who have multiple support characters like myself who have 2 total. Additionally, it's not just Egg Gear. Support in general has decreased and no players are actually creating support. On my last stream, I tested as if I was simulating a new player experience with an alternative character. I waited for Theomine Normal for 3 hours for a support, and I got denied multiple times joining different parties. I tried to make my own party about 5 to 6 times, and tried to join multiple parties too. I gave up and resorted to having a friend to help me in the end. But this makes me worried that this is what players are experiencing. If you don't really have a friend or resorting into find people from Discord or something, it's pretty much impossible for you to get a party if you're on idle level for the Korean server. Not only this is just a simple statistics issue, the future looks very grim as well by changes from Smilegate for supports. The ARC passive system has been looking very exciting for people. I still get questions all the time if I have it or not on my characters. But this takes a while to get set up, and I'm estimating it will be more standardized next month. The problem is support ARC passive. One day I can talk about this more in detail when there are more changes, but in very simple terms, you actually get weaker by transferring into the new ARC passive, and you will have to spend a lot of gold just to get back to your build. To explain with a drastic example, this is a relic book for Awakening. You read 5, nothing happens. Reading 10, you'll get 1 more stack of Awakening. Reading 15 is still 1 stack, and reading 20, you get 2 stacks of Awakening total. You also would have to cut a new rock if you don't have an Awakening rock, because level 3 Awakening on the old system is 50% cooldown with 3 additional stacks. But the new system without Awakening Stone is 44% cooldown with plus 3 stacks if you read it up to Legendary. Reading all relic books will cost you 570k gold, and it will give you 2 more stacks. The stone impacts 6% at 6 notes, 7.5 at 7, 10.5 at 9, and 12% at 10 notes. Therefore, you would need a 6-note Awakening Stone with all relic books to have 50% cooldown with additional Awakening stacks. There are tons more examples other than this, but I'm not going to get into details because it's going to make the video really long. But generally, there is no reason to invest and change to ARC passive for all supports. You can still use Yearning and stay at tier 3 builds and still be fine for a while. The new T4 accessories will impact your buff efficiency a lot, but these are really expensive right now that really doesn't justify it. So right now, the obvious benefit of playing support is saving the gold. Supports can even use the engraving support system to set up 5-3, and you're performing enough even on the latest Egg Gear raid. However, this is really bad because I believe the essence and the fun of RPG games is the feeling of progression. Like the feel that your character is becoming stronger. I really like playing support class, but getting this type of treatment from Smilegate and the community doesn't look really healthy for the game. Like basically Smilegate is patching these days as if you should not play support at this point, unless you want to make cheap gold. Therefore, there are a lot of fellow users are switching away or quitting their supports as a main support player. We even recently had an Esther support player quit until Smilegate does something about this. I think it's a pretty big deal right now. And if this continues, this will be a negative spiral effect, which causing next raid will even have a worse ratio between DPS and supports. Right now, main support players are pretty much considered as an idiot or a cheapskate, and I know this hatred is from DPS players not being able to play the content due to waiting for supports for so long. The Korean community definitely fights about this all the time, and it always happens every new raid. I definitely don't know the solution to this other than making supports not mandatory or make the supports feel more enjoyable to play and have better progression, but it kinda upsets me that they make such great raids, but these small problems cause players to get really angry at each other and quitting as a result. Even though people like me are not affected due to having statics and friends, I hope these things are relieved or resolved, because I know without any fixes, it's going to get worse and worse, and the West will experience the exact same things, but worse. Let's hope that Smilegate goes through this. With that, I will end this short video here. Thanks for listening guys, and have a good day. Bye bye!